Hey there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm 16, but I got a good show for this week because we're going to be talking about Minecraft rejecting NFTs, The Last of Us Remake leaks, and Gorilla shuts down some games, plus more. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright, folks, and we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the gaming forecast. So let's see what's coming up between the week of July 31st to August 6th. Okay, on August 2nd, you have two games coming out, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 for Xbox One and Series X, and Froggen for a Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X. Then on August 3rd, you have South of the Circle for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X. And then on the 4th, you have 5 games coming out. You have Apathy, Narugami, Gakugan, Nana, Fushigi, and Gesuzizu Mina de Chokamaka Marudukuri. Hope I'm pronouncing both of those right. Both exclusively in Japan for Nintendo Switch. Hard West 2 for Windows. Sword and Fairy Together Forever for PlayStation 4 and 5, and Massage Freaks for Nintendo Switch. Then on the 5th, you have 2 games, Bokura for Windows, iOS, and Android, and Gigabash for Windows, PlayStation 4, and 5. And then on the 6th, you have the 13th month for Windows, iOS, and Android. And that was your gaming forecast. Some interesting stuff there. Froggen has been on my watch list on Steam for quite a while now, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, isn't Massage Freaks, isn't that the one that people were freaking out a few days ago? I remember hearing something about that. People were like trying to petition that to get removed from the Nintendo eShop. I don't know. I think people are just freaking out about stuff as usual. But anyway, with that being said, let's get on to our first topic. Okay, so for our first story, we have some interesting news coming out of Minecraft. So recently, Mojang put out a statement regarding NFTs and blockchains in Minecraft, because a lot of people have been wondering about it and all kinds of stuff. And you see, whenever people try to talk about the idea about NFTs in games, Minecraft is one of them that they keep bringing up. And so they put out an official statement basically saying, no, we will not allow that at all. They said, and I quote, "To ensure that Minecraft players have a safe and inclusive experience, blockchain technologies are not permitted to be integrated inside our client and server applications. Nor may Minecraft in-game content such as world skins, persona items, or other mods be utilized by blockchain technology to create a scarce digital asset." Based. Let me tell you, that is absolutely just, it's refreshing to read that. To see a major corporation, major studio like Mojang putting their foot down on this shit, and I'm glad they are. Because in my humble opinion, look, I don't mind NFTs existing. If an artist wants to create a whole bunch of NFTs and sells them, that's fine. But when you start putting that shit in games, that's when we have a problem. Because, look, games right now are monetized out the ass enough already. Okay? We already have DLC, microtransactions, loot boxes. We don't need more monetization. Alright? We don't need more of that shit. And I'm glad to see a major studio like Mojang putting their foot down on this shit. And I guarantee you the reason why is not only would it fuck up the entire game, but also the fact that NFTs are not popular amongst gamers. And anytime you've had a publisher that's tried to push it, it completely crashes and burns. For example, look at Ubisoft. They've been trying to push NFTs into some of their games, and barely anyone has bought any of them because people don't want them. And you have Square Enix, trying to push that shit. And I guarantee you that's going to completely fall flat on their ass, just like the Avengers game did, okay? No one wants this shit. No one wants NFTs right now. And I think, isn't like the entire NFT market just crashing and burning? I know, crypto is kind of like on fire right now. The entire thing is basically destroying itself. So, yeah, you know what? Probably not the best idea to include that shit into your games. And you know what? I'm kind of hoping that Ubisoft gets out of it as well, and maybe Square Enix sees how much of a shitty idea it is that they eventually pull out. I highly doubt they will, because Square Enix is run by fucking morons, but at the same time, I just kind of hope they have some sense in them to not actually go forward with it. So, bravo to Mojang for like I said, putting their foot down on this shit. Like I said before, the NFTs should stand for no fucking thanks. All right. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Okay, so our next story I thought was very interesting. So recently, PocketGamer.biz did an interview with John Riccitiello, and who's the CEO of Unity. And during the interview, they were talking about monetization and such, and the fact that developers seem to there seems to be a pushback from some developers when it comes to implementing monetization earlier in the process of game development. And Riccitiello had something very, very interesting to say. He said, and I quote, "Ferrari and some of the other high-end car manufacturers still use clay and carving knives. It's a very small portion of the gaming industry that works that way. And some of these people are my favorite people in the world to fight with. They're the most beautiful and pure, brilliant people. They're also some of the biggest fucking idiots." That's right, folks. He thinks if you're not monetizing your games from the very beginning, then you are a fucking idiot. John, you should not be fucking talking, okay? Folks, if you don't know who John Riccitiello is, before he became the CEO of Unity, he was the CEO of EA from 2007 to 2013. And he is responsible for some of the biggest mistakes EA has ever made. Do you love some of those franchises from the 7th generation? Stuff like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Dead Space. Remember those games? Remember how they completely crashed and burned towards around the end? Yeah, you want to know who was responsible for that? John Riccitiello. That's right. This fuck, okay? Under him, you had the Mass Effect 3 controversy. You had the destruction of Dead Space. The reason why Dead Space 3 sold so poorly and was so poorly received by fans, okay, because of the microtransactions that were thrown into it. Guess who was responsible for that? Okay, guess who was responsible for the casualization of fucking Dragon Age 2? This guy. So he should not be talking when he's calling other people fucking idiots, okay? There's a reason why he is no longer the CEO of EA, okay? And that's the reason why. Because a lot of the major franchises that he was under his command, he completely fucked up, all right? I do not want to hear John Riccitiello call other people fucking idiots, because he should not be talking, all right? It pisses me off when he does that, okay? I'm a huge fan of Dead Space, obviously, you know, because I dedicated a 4-part retrospective to the franchise, okay? And you know what? I remember when Dead Space 3 first came out, I was interested in getting it, and I decided not to when it first came out, because of the microtransactions. That's why it honestly, I didn't play it until the retrospective. Because I boycotted the game. I was like, I'm not gonna pay $60 for a single player game where most of aspects of it are locked behind a paywall. I was not gonna do that. I was gonna put my foot down. And I know other fans were the same way. They were not going to buy, they weren't going to buy that game because they did not want to support the microtransactions in that game. All right? So this man is responsible for killing at least 3 major franchises within EA. Okay? I don't want to hear it from him. Okay? And you know what? Who cares if developers don't want to monetize their games from the very beginning? Okay? You know what? Elden Ring proved you wrong. All right? You can tell me about how, oh, well, we have to monetize this and monetize that. No, look at Elden Ring. Look at the success of it. Okay? Do not tell me that game would have sold better with all sorts of monetization schemes. It wouldn't. It fucking wouldn't. So, god damn it. You know, it's just reading that just irked me. I read that and I'm just like, you son of a bitch. Like, you should, like, again, you shouldn't be talking here, okay, dude? Because you made a lot of mistakes while you were CEO of EA, all right? So, when I read that, I'm just like, you bastard. Anyway, I'm going to cool off. I'm going to play some games, and I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this. 味方か謎のブルース率いるロボット軍団に立ち向かえ会長ロックマンシリーズファミコン用ソフトロックマン5ブルースの罠好評発売中ロックモードも仲間入りカプコンAll right, folks, and we're back. And first up on our next round of stories, we have some updates regarding The Last of Us Remake because it seems there's been a couple of leaks. Oh, yeah. It first started off as a bunch of screenshots, but then actual gameplay footage started popping up. Now, of course, whenever Sony has talked about or showed off this game, all they've ever shown are screenshots of it, and that's it. And after looking at the gameplay footage, I can see why, because essentially, folks, this is not a remake. What this is basically a glorified remaster, okay? All they've done is updated the character models and the textures, and that's it. Everything else, from environments to gameplay mechanics, audio, music, all of that is exactly the same as it was before. This is a glorified remaster. And the fact that Sony is charging $70 goddamn for this, it's a cash grab. This is nothing more than a desperate cash grab. And of course, you know, there was a lot of questions as to whether or not these leaks were actually real. Well, of course, Sony had no choice but to actually basically confirm it. They released an entire video on YouTube showing off the gameplay footage as well as the new features that are going to be added to this game. But honestly, I don't care about that because, like I said, it's basically a glorified remaster. This is essentially the exact same game, just with slightly prettier looking graphics. And in some cases, the character models actually look worse than they did on the PS3. And of course, cue all the fanboys basically defending this, especially the $70 price tag. Look, in my opinion, if you want to charge $70 for a game, then you might as well be writing your own obituary, because you're basically going to cause the industry to crash again. But hey, who knows? Maybe it'll be fun watching the devs literally lose their mind in real time as the industry crashes right in front of them. I also saw someone basically trying to defend it by begging people not to spread spoilers and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, bro, you're talking about a game that has been out since 2013. It's been 9 years, all right? If you haven't played it within that time, that's not my problem. And now that I think about it, it actually brings up another point, and that's the fact that you can already play the original Last of Us on PS5. It was remastered on the PS4 and is fully playable on PS5. So again, what's the goddamn point of this other than to be a fucking cash grab? Folks, you can try and defend this game to me as much as you want, but it is very much clear to me that this entire game is nothing more than a ripoff. It's very much clear that what they did is they upgraded the graphics slightly a bit, enough to make it, to convince you that they've essentially, that it's a completely different game, when in reality, all they've done is basically taken the exact same game and charged you triple of what it's actually going for on the PS4. Guys, this is a ripoff, and I am not afraid to say that. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Okay, this next one I thought was very interesting because it has to deal with Silent Hill. Now, don't get too excited because it has nothing to do with a possible new game. I know there's a lot of like clickbait shit about oh my god, possible new Silent Hill game. Folks, until something like that is ever confirmed, don't believe anything you fucking read or watch. But anyway, now this is rather a clarification about the first game. So recently, Masahiro Ito, who is the art director for Silent Hill 2 and 3, and also the monster designer for the first game, he's on Twitter, and he posts every once in a while about Silent Hill. And he recently made a clarification about Silent Hill regarding the weather in the game itself, or the first game itself. He says, and I quote, "The white dots in the sky in the game are not ash. It's snowing outside." And he posts a screen cap from the games of, I think it's the doctor, I can't remember his name, saying it's snowing outside. And you know what? I was actually kind of shocked that people to this day, for whatever reason, seem to think that the weather in Silent Hill is ash. Because, as he points out clearly, throughout the game, it talks about how it's snowing outside. Even when I first played it, I kind of knew it was snowing. Which, to me, shows a lot of people either did not pay attention to the story, or they never actually played the first game. But you know where the whole confusion comes from? I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. The Silent Hill movie. Because in the movie, it's not snowing, it's ash. And a lot of that has to deal with the writer of the movie, Roger Avery. He has actually said in numerous interviews that his version of Silent Hill is inspired by Centralia. which is a town out in Pennsylvania that is all, I think it's like not entirely a ghost town. I think there's still some people living out there. But since the early 60s, it was a coal mining town, and in the early 60s, a fire broke out in the mines, and it's been burning ever since. And it's not entirely sure how long it's going to keep burning. I mean, there are some coal fires in the world that are still going on for hundreds and even thousands of years. I think the oldest one is all out in Australia. So it can go on for a long time, and there's like only a handful of people actually still living out there. But for the most part, the highways into the city were completely blocked off. You can't get in there. But anyway, so he decided to base his version of Silent Hill off of Centralia, Pennsylvania, and so he changed the snow into ash. And ever since then, people apparently have been confused about this and keep thinking that the weather in the first game is ash, when in reality it's snow. So, you know what? It's one of many misconceptions about the game, because people, for some reason, they get a lot of stuff confused, or they misrepresent things, and a lot of that has to deal with, I feel, the ambiguity of the game. How a lot of stuff isn't exactly spelled out, and you have to kind of play the games over and over again to really understand what the hell is going on in some cases. Like, for example, look at Pyramid Head. There are people who, to this day, do not understand that Pyramid Head should only be exclusive to Silent Hill 2. Because the character represents the self-loathing and sexual frustration of James Sunderland. Okay? He does not belong in any other game other than Silent Hill 2. And for some reason, people don't seem to understand that. They seem to think Pyramid Head is like the main villain of the entire series. You see, this is why I really can't stand a lot of the games and media outside of the first four, because it feels like a lot of the later developers just did not understand the series, like, at all. If you want a good idea of what I'm talking about, look at the IDW Silent Hill comics. My God, those are horrible. I got, what was it, the Silent Hill experience for the PSP, and includes some of the digital comics, and they're awful. Whoever wrote that shit knows absolutely nothing about that series. So, anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Okay, and next up we have another story about Bayonetta 3. This time it's regarding the, what was it, Naive Angel mode that they announced, which kind of censors things a bit. It's optional, obviously. But, of course, there's been a lot of speculation amongst fans about why it was put in the first place. And a lot of people have been kind of speculating that Nintendo it was at Nintendo's behest. Well, according to Hideki Kamiya himself, it wasn't, actually. He said on Twitter, "When people talk about the exposure of Bayonetta, I see a lot of it's because it's Nintendo. But through Bayo 1, 2, and 3, the only suggestion we got was with Link's costume, that we could expose her chest more. As for Bayonetta, I think you should just innocently enjoy it without worrying about things you don't have to do with your biased head." And I'm guessing that's a direct translation, because it sounds a bit weird, but I get it. Maybe they had like a PR person internally within Platinum that told them to do it. But honestly, the way I see it is this. It's a rated M game. Okay? You shouldn't feel like, if you feel awkward about playing a rated M game in front of other people, then just play it privately. It's simple as that. But I'll say this, thankfully, it's optional. Because in a lot of these games, they don't make this stuff optional. Sometimes they just flat out censor it, and that's it. You can't change anything. I don't know. Maybe Kamiya's getting a little too soft in his old age. I know he's in his 50s, so maybe that's the case. Maybe he's just kind of sick and tired of people whining about his game, so he's just like, here, have a bone, deal with it, shut the fuck up. And I don't blame him. I mean, the dude deals with a lot of idiots on Twitter all the time. He's blocking people all over the place. Including myself, by the way. I am one of the people he did block. Of course, I didn't do anything stupid. All I did was just say, I can't wait. Okay, so here's the story. Okay, it's 2015. I was in art school. It was a few weeks until the semester ended and the summer vacation started. So I was excited for Bayonetta 2. So I just sent out a tweet. I added Kamiya and I just said, can't wait to get out of school and play Bayonetta 2. Or at least something like that. I don't know exactly what it was. I don't think I ever screen capped it. But he then comes back and basically quote retweets me saying, I didn't direct Bayonetta 2. Blocked. And that was the end of it. But here's the thing. I'm not angry at the guy. In fact, I kind of wear it as a badge of honor, you know? The fact that I didn't have to pay Platinum Games in order for him to block me, the fact that he just went and did it anyway. So I don't hate him, and I kind of wear it as a badge of honor. I think I'm kind of proud of the fact that, yes, I got blocked by Hideki Kamiya. I got blocked by Hideki Kamiya. It's one of those weird things where it's just like, I can't stay mad at the guy. But anyway, I'm looking forward to Bayonetta 3. No, regardless of whether or not Kamiya blocks me or unblocks me, I don't care. Okay? I will play anything he puts out. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Play Silent Hill. You may never leave your room again for PlayStation from Konami.
All right, folks, and we're back. And first up in our last round of stories, we have some news coming out of Guerrilla Games because it appears that some of their older titles will be shutting down their online features. The news came out on the official Guerrilla Games Twitter account where they said, and I quote, "On August 12th, 2022, online servers for Killzone Mercenary, Killzone Shadowfall, including Intercept Mode, and Riggs Mechanized Combat League will shut down. Online features, including online multiplayer modes, will cease on that date. Single-player offline modes remain available." And I gotta say, of all the games, I'm actually kind of surprised that Mercenary was still going on. That was the one on the PlayStation Vita, and I remember that was like the single worst rated game of of the entire series. Like, it got bad reviews all over the place. I remember a lot of people absolutely hating it. So I'm kind of shocked that it's still kind of like the servers are still up for that. What I'm not surprised, of course, is Shadowfall, because that game has been dead for a long time. I'd say probably the past, 6-7 years. It's been dead for quite a while. And really, I mean, that was obviously going to happen when, of course, other PlayStation 4 games came out. Remember, it was a launch title, and really not a very good one. I know a lot of people, between that and Knack, it was better, but it was still nothing more than a glorified tech demo for the PS4. It was kind of an unnecessary sequel. As for Riggs, well, I'm going to be quite frank, I've never really heard of it. Apparently, looking into it, apparently it was a PlayStation VR game, but I've never even heard of the damn thing. So I'm not even sure. I didn't even know it existed. At first, I thought it was like, oh, is that like a PS3 game or whatever? No, apparently it was on the PS4 in 2016. So, and I didn't even know it existed. I guess, basically, I just kind of assumed that Guerrilla didn't really do anything between Killzone Shadowfall and Horizon Zero Dawn. So if you were playing any of these games online, and I highly doubt that, but just in case you were, you're basically shit out of luck after August 12th. And it really brings up an issue I have with games that focus heavily on online features, because inevitably, you're not going to be able to access those online features anymore. All games, this will happen to all games. Eventually, the online services will shut down. You will not be able to access any of them. And essentially, you will not be able to play certain aspects of those games, especially if those games have no single-player experiences whatsoever. It's a purely online game. Eventually, when that shuts down, you will not have any access to it. And it's something that kind of, it bugs the fuck out of me, especially when it comes to game preservation and gaming history. And it's one of the reasons why I wish developers would stop relying too much on online features. I get it. It's a big thing. But unless your game, it allows for private servers so that the game can continue to be played well after the official servers are shut down, you shouldn't really consider it. I kind of wish Sony would do that sometime down the line when the PS3 and the Vita and the PSP, when all the online services for those shut down. I kind of wish that they would just open them up for private servers, but obviously that's never going to happen. And it's also going to be hell if you want to get 100% of trophies in these games, because guess what? Some of them have multiplayer trophies, so when the online multiplayer goes down, you can't get them anymore. So it's like I said, if you're going to make a game with lots of online features, at least make sure that down the line people can start their own private servers so that the games can continue to live well after the official ones are shut down. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Okay, this next one has to deal with the Steam Deck. Now, I'm fairly certain all of you in the Northern Hemisphere, including myself, are dealing with the heat wave that's going on right now. Of course, as you can hear, there's an air conditioner and a fan going on right behind me, and so I'm in a nice, cool room. But, of course, not everyone has the exact same luxury. And so because of that, a lot of people have been wondering about whether or not the Steam Deck can actually handle higher temperatures such as these. And well, they got you covered. Valve recently put out a tweet on their official Steam Deck Twitter account saying, and I quote, "For our friends in the midst of a heat wave, a quick note about the Steam Deck in high temperatures. Steam Deck performs at its best in ambient temperatures between 0 to 35 degrees Celsius. For those who are in the United States, that's 32, I think, to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature gets higher than this, Steam Deck may start to throttle performance to protect itself." They then continued in another tweet, a bit more detail about this. "Steam Deck's APU runs well at temperatures up to 100 degrees Celsius, which is about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. It will start at 100 degrees, it will start to throttle performance, and at 105 degrees Celsius, which is 121 degrees Fahrenheit, it will shut down. Again, this is to protect itself and you from any damage." Now, I understand that playing, that in a hot room, yeah, it's probably not the best idea, but can I ask you a question? Who the hell plays games on a handheld outdoors? I don't do that. I've never really done that, probably since I was like in middle school or high school. So it's been quite a while. All of my systems are played indoors, including the handheld. So I don't know why the hell anyone would want to play any of that outdoors. It just kind of, to me, it makes no damn sense. But if you're indoors and you don't have any air conditioning, I know in Europe they're not really too keen on it, I think you'll still be pretty good. Just like I said, don't play that outdoors, like outright in the middle of the sun, because I guarantee you that will cook your own system. So anyway, let's move on to the next story. Okay, and for our last story, we have an weird-ass promo coming out of Blizzard. Because it seems that in order to promote Diablo 4, they're starting what they call the Hell's Ink Tour. What it is basically they're going to go around the country offering free Diablo tattoos in exchange for a card that will give you a digital copy of the game and access to the beta when they go live. Now, of course, a lot of people were excited at this, not just simply because they get a free copy of the game, but also because many thought that it meant that they were going to be opening for the beta pretty soon. But of course, that has been since quelled, because according to the general manager of Diablo, Rod Ferguson, he said, and I quote, "Sorry, we will have more public testing in the future as we continue down the path to shipping in 2023. Now, folks, I'm going to be frank with you. If this was any other publisher, I'd probably think, okay, if it's a publisher I like and a game that I'm interested in, I'd be like, maybe I'd go for a free tattoo. But Blizzard, look, you lost me as a customer when you decided to go go after a guy voicing his support for his home country. All right, I wouldn't get a tattoo for Blizzard even if they paid me for it. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, Blizzard to me is dead as a company, and I really don't understand why anyone would want to get a tattoo from them, let alone to get a free game of theirs that's probably gonna suck ass through a straw. Okay, look, as far as I'm concerned, Diablo died sometime after Diablo 2. There were no Diablo games after Lords of Destruction. That was it. Once that came out, there was no Diablo 3, and there's sure as hell no Diablo 4 or Diablo Immortal. To me, the franchise is entirely dead, all right? So, no way in hell would I ever get a tattoo to get for a free Diablo game, let alone from Blizzard. Ugh, that company, I swear to God. Yeah, I want to love them. I want to love them as much as I did back when I was in middle school and high school, when I used to play Warcraft 3 and StarCraft all the time. But now, they're just a sad, pathetic excuse for a publisher. Fuck them. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Killzone, rated M for mature.
All right, folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week, and remember to keep gaming.